The Trump presidency is officially here, and just this week we gained some more clarity on how Trump plans to implement his tariff policy. But before we dive into that, I do want to remind you guys that we only have a couple of days left until the sale of the car sharing masterclass is officially over, and this will be our last sale of the season. If you want to check it out, you can use the code NEWYEAR215 to get $215 off the course. The course goes over everything from A to Z that you need to know about starting and scaling a car sharing fleet with the exact same business model that I use, which is the economical cash car business model. And in addition to over 7 hours worth of course content, which includes things like how to run your fleet, how to buy cars at a below market value price, how to handle damage claims and total losses, and more. The course also includes resources, SOPs, and contractual templates that you can use with your own business. We have a private Discord server, monthly Zoom calls, and we're adding a bunch of new content this year, which all course members will gain lifetime access to. So again, if you want to check that out, you can use the code NEWYEAR215 to get $215 off. Donald Trump stated at an Oval Office signing ceremony earlier this week that he would be implementing the aggressive and sweeping tariff policy that he spoke about throughout his campaign. Up to 20% on imports from all countries, with a 25% tax on goods from Mexico and Canada, plus a whopping 60% tax on goods from China. And overall, this is bad news for the car market. In fact, it is very bad news. On the news of the tariff plan, automakers are, and really have been since the election, been bracing for the impact that such large tariffs could have on the country and consumers. So in the context of the car market, what does this mean for you? Well, if this tariff plan is implemented, and again, as of right now, Donald Trump says that it will be on the 1st, car prices will go up. There's absolutely no way around it. Mexico is one of the most important trade partners to the United States auto industry, with 16% of all light vehicles in the US being produced in Mexico. Not only within vehicle production itself, Mexico is also the 4th largest producer for auto parts. Canada, on the other hand, a country that you may not think has intertwinings within the automotive industry, is in fact very intertwined with the American auto industry, especially Michigan, which is a next-door neighbor to Canada. Michigan alone exports $28 billion in goods to Canada, and Canada imports over $50 billion in goods to Michigan annually. And half of all of these imports and exports are related to the automotive industry, with Canadian imports having a large impact on these imports and exports that are crucial to the auto industry in the state. This could have a massive impact on the Michigan auto industry and the nearly 200,000 people that are employed within the state. Now, whenever Donald Trump won his re-election bid back in November of 2024, there seemed to be some confusion surrounding tariffs and who actually pays the tariff whenever it's implemented, with many people believing that whenever a tariff is implemented, the company that is importing the goods simply pays that fee, and that cost doesn't trickle down to the consumer. In fact, after Trump was elected, the search for the term "what is a tariff" skyrocketed on Google. But let's be abundantly clear here, because while tariffs are absolutely paid for by the companies, that cost is then trickled down to the consumer. Because the reality is, no company, but automakers included, they're not going to eat a 25% cost. They're just not going to do it. And the bottom line is, if tariffs are implemented on the 1st, car prices will go up. Now, the problem with tariffs is that the idea behind them is that if tariffs are aggressive enough, it will cause for companies to bring manufacturing to the United States in order to avoid the tariff altogether.
The higher the tariff, the more likely it is that the company will come into the United States and build a factory in the United States so it doesn't have to pay the tariff.
That will take many years.
And while this can be true, the amount of time it would take to shift vehicle manufacturing to the United States, it would take many years. And it would mean not only moving vehicle manufacturing domestically, but also vehicle parts manufacturing as well. And the secondary problem here is one I've talked about on my channel before, and that is that there is no such thing as a 100% American-made car. So every single vehicle on the road will be subject to tariffs. I mean, let's just look at a few examples. Ford, a classic American brand, makes 20% of their cars outside of the United States, and 80% of those cars are made domestically. This makes Ford one of the most American-made cars out there. And yet, according to the American Automakers Policy Council, the makeup of Ford's production is that Ford models contain 55% or more domestic parts. Basically, there is a threshold within the auto industry where you don't have to have all of your parts to be made in America in order to be considered American-made. In the case of Ford, not all of their cars are 100% American-made. In fact, none of them them are. Some reports show that the Ford F-Series, so the Ford truck lineup, has about 75% American-made parts, while the Ford Mustang GT has about 88% American-made parts. And so even in the case of Ford, a brand that is synonymous with American-made, you're not going to find a car in their lineup that isn't subject to tariffs in some form. And let me be clear, in the case of Ford, it's not that I'm saying that this number that they have, their American production percentage, isn't good. I think if American-made is your goal, Ford is an excellent choice. But what I am saying is that even for a company that is considered to be doing quite good in the effort to produce domestically, even they aren't producing 100% of their lineup here in the United States. So 20% of Ford's lineup, up to 45% of all of their parts, they will still be tariffed, which will not only potentially result in higher costs for vehicles that you want to buy, but also higher costs for parts whenever you need to repair your car. General Motors is another automaker that has been considered one of the most American-made manufacturers in years past. According to a 2020 study, it showed that the company produced 70.6% of all of their parts and materials domestically. I couldn't find an updated 2024 report, so it's unclear how that figure has trended over the last few years, but generally speaking, General Motors is considered to be a pretty well American-made car brand. And so again, the point here is that even American-made brands that are praised for being American-made are still going to be subject to these insanely high tariffs. And again, that cost is going to trickle down to you and I. And of course, the amount of tariffs that will be implemented will depend on the type of car, where it was manufactured, the trim. There will be a variety of different factors that we'll all have to take into account. And automakers are already bracing for this change. And experts in the auto industry have already been expressing concerns of the negative impact that these types of tariffs will have on the car industry as a whole. Now, the silver lining, and this is a pretty thin silver lining, is that this change won't, or at least I believe that it won't, have an immediate impact on car prices. Because as of right now, dealerships throughout the country have on average about a 75-day supply. The cars on dealership lots today have already been imported, and this tariff won't be implemented retroactively. And so we really shouldn't see the impact on tariffs on the car market for at least probably 30, 60, 90 days after the tariff is implemented. The exceptions to this is if dealerships and automakers just lean into the tariffs and immediately start raising prices, which could happen, or if you're somebody who's buying a car new, made to order, which in that case you would have to pay the tariff. But long term, this will absolutely cause car prices to go up in a car market where consumers have already felt like they're priced out of the car market and cars are incredibly unaffordable. This will result in used cars going up as well, because as a result of the more expensive new cars, consumers will be apprehensive to trade in their old cars, keeping cars on the road longer, driving up prices, very similar to what we saw in 2021 and 2022. But not only for car sales, I believe this will also have an impact on car repairs as well, because billions of dollars worth of car parts are produced overseas every single year. And those parts are not only used to produce the cars, but they're also used to repair them. The point is, the car market and car prices, they're probably about to go up. So if you are in the market for a new car, I'd plan accordingly. And don't forget that my course, the Car Sharing Masterclass, our New Year's sale is ending very, very soon on Saturday, January 25th. And you can use the code NEWYEAR215 to get $215 off your purchase. Act fast because our sale ends very, very soon. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.